Hey guys, OGalbina here, bring you guys our SBT week 4 through 8 and then playoffs, and a little bit of a mini movie. Now, I was uploading these weekly, but I kind of fell a little bit behind after week 4. It's honestly been like a month since I uploaded these last. But the season's kind of winding down for SBT. It's going to be over no matter what in a week here. So I figured, might as well kind of catch up, get my games uploaded, and yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, I'm going to show you the rest of my season, whatever it was, weeks 4 through 8, and then, our playoffs and, how far we get in that and all that good stuff. So, yeah, with that being said, if you guys do enjoy today's video, be sure to drop a like as well as sub to the channel. I would really appreciate it. We're pushing towards 1,000 subs, and, yeah, again, I would really appreciate if you helped us out along that journey. Now, week 5, we're going into this 4-0. If you haven't checked out the rest of our games, definitely go check them out. We're going into this game 4-0, so we really just need one more win the rest of the season to confirm playoffs. From there on, it really doesn't matter. I'm not too worried about seeding-wise. There's not really anybody I don't think I can beat in this league going forward, as long as I play my game correctly. And that's not to say, like, everybody in this league's worse than me. No, there's probably some people better than me in the league. But what I'm saying is, I feel like I'm not scared, to play anybody. So as long as we make it into playoffs, I really don't care too much. We're going up against Zayn this week here. You can see he has a Weavile, Ferrothorn, Hatterene, Neolego, Suicune, and Gliscor. Team we're bringing, I believe we're bringing an SD3 attacks, Mega Gallade, with like close combat, triple axle, and poison jab. We're bringing an AV Nidoking with Stabs, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, which is really solid this match. A Rest Talk, Fizdef, Rocky Helmet, Primarina. A Curse Rest Talk, Licky Licky with Body Slam and Curse. An AV Serena, and then I believe, I don't remember the Gren set that we were in this game. We were Work Up Gren, so we were sub Work Up, so we could like take advantage of maybe like Suicunes and things like that. And if we can chip down that Ferrothorn, we can actually do a lot of work with it, to be completely honest. So, that's gonna be the team. Let's go ahead and jump into this one. Now, initially, we're gonna lead off with Nidoking. We're gonna see Gliscor here. And again, I want you guys to learn these videos and learn from my mistakes. And in my head, I said EQ seems pretty easy here. I think he might U-turn turn 1. Again, very aggressive call by me, but I think he might U-turn your turn 1. And I also think that as long as, if he's no attack invest, I actually pretty much always live in Earthquake. So even if he does stay in, I feel pretty comfortable staying in and doing so. But I think this is a little bit too over-aggressive a play from me, because it's not like Zayn is in a terrible spot if I go into my Serena. Like, he doesn't just like raw lose the game. It was more so me not wanting to make the passive play and be put on the back foot immediately, which was kind of my main goal. So I actually stay in here and I Ice Beam, because I also catch like a slow Gliscor too, and do a ton of damage to it, which is great for the rest of my team, to be completely honest. Especially things like Licky, that might not appreciate or really even be able to break through to +6, but then again, I suppose everything on my team can really pressure it, so there's no real reason to risk Nidoking at this point, as he is just going to go Earthquake, be faster than me, and kill me. And this was really bad. Really dumb play, because now look at my Neolego matchup. My AV Nidoking was really my best pivot and way of beating that thing consistently long term. Now we don't have that. It was also really good breaking through Ferrothorn. It broke through Hatterene as well. It killed the knee, so it was good against a lot of it. And again, he just doesn't pivot well into it in general. Outside of this Gliscor, everything on his team gets murked by Earth Power, Sludge Wave, and Earth Power. And then obviously, if we catch the Gliscor with an Ice Beam, we're in a good spot. So, not the best play by me. I'm going to go out into my Glade right here. Threaten this thing with like a Triple Axle or an Ice Punch. I believe I actually double out into my Serena this next turn. Maybe expecting Suicune to be the pivot in on the ice move, but we see a Ferrothorn come in hard, which is very interesting. It kind of screams that this thing is choppable, but regardless, it's my play to stay in, kind of high jump kick, get a bunch of damage off on this thing, and pop that chopple, which we do right here, which is fine, as he elects to go for a Gyro Ball doing a lot of damage, and I go for another high jump kick, and I miss. And this really sucks, because this thing being weakened ridiculously opens up my Gren to come in and just like win the game here soon. It does really well, or forces a ton of chip on that Hatterene so that something like Gallade can win. So it's definitely tough. Not the end of the world. Again, we're 4-0 going into this game, but that was a very tough play for your hero. I'm gonna go Glade here. I'm gonna make a pretty passive play of just close combating. Maybe Poison Chanting would have been a little bit better, but if he felt comfortable staying in and letting that Ferro go down to prevent a Swords Dance, if he wasn't like Kebby on this thing, that would have been a potential play as well. So I just close combat there, and this turn on the Dazzling Gleam, I'm going to go into my Spadef Licky as I can kind of eat this up and start setting up curses. Now again, keep in mind if that Ferrothorn is weakened, this Curse Licky can honestly just win the game, as he makes the pivot into Suicune initially, and in my head I'm like, oh, maybe he's Roar, something like that, so we'll have to be a little bit careful, because I'm going to, get that +1 curse up, as I'm going to curse again right here. And in hindsight, if I do think he's roar, then maybe I don't do that. Maybe I just get the damage off, as he does roar, obviously by being slower than me, which is tough, but not the end of the world. Out comes my Primarina. I believe I just off a Scald here, because I don't expect this weekend to stay in. I don't think it's Calm Mind. If I can get a Beta Burn on it, that's amazing for me. Unfortunately, we don't get it on the Ferrothorn. I'm going to make an aggressive play right out into Glade immediately, because I don't think he's going to Gyro Ball my Prim. I think he's going to Leech or Power Whip or get a Hazard, something like that. Which he does Leech up, and then this next turn he is going to stay in Gyro Ball. So that's kind of why I close combated earlier, because I played Zayn before, and he's very hard to get a read on. Sometimes he'll just make calls and make plays to make them. Kind of like we did with Nidoking, which was unnecessary. And again, I think the play I made with Nidoking was a terrible play. But, you know, things like that, where he'll just, like, kind of make a call. Maybe he thought we were going to Poison Jab or SD there or something like that. I don't know. Regardless, I'm going to get into Licky right here. And then we're going to pivot right back out into Glade, because I think he's going to either potentially Leech up or do something else. And again, keep in mind, this thing's, like, pretty much almost dead. It never would have been able to be in this position if it got hit with that high jump kick a little bit earlier in the game. So this is a pretty unfortunate game all around. Hattering's going to come out this time, as I believe I close combat, because again, I can't get a read. Maybe he's just very good at conditioning me into not knowing what's happening. But we're going to get out into Licky as we take a Psychic for about 28%, which is fine. And then this next turn, I believe I am going to once again go for a, no, I'm going to go for a rest this time, just to get healthy, so this Licky can just win later. Because it still is a viable win con if I can get rid of that Ferrothorn. And chip down that Suicune. But he's going to Swords Dance here as I go into Prim. I'm kind of forced into a Moonblast because of this. Can't really stay in bait for that Scald. I am going to do it this next turn. You're going to see I'm going to kind of like hyper-focus on trying to burn this Ferrothorn throughout the game, which doesn't make too much sense. It's right here, he is going to Leech Seed. That was a pretty risky play, because if he was Power Whip, he could have just Power Whipped me pretty darn easily, which would have been unfortunate, but oh well, not the biggest deal in the world. Next turn, I'm going to throw off a close combat right here, as the Suicune does come in due to leftovers and Leech Seed. It's going to be able to be out of 2 at KO range, so I'm going to save it. Go into my Prim once again, as I do get Scalded. I don't believe I get burned. Yeah. And then this next turn, we're just going to throw out some Moonblast and things like that. It does, or some Scalds to try and burn the incoming Ferrothorn. It does reveal Toxic, but I am Rest Talk. I'm Rest Talk Rocky Helmet in order to check that Weavile. So I'm not too worried about the Toxic as long as I rest at, you know, the app time. As right here, there's going to be another Scald. Again, this thing probably thinking it 1v1 me, but I am just going to rest up, just so I can get a little bit more healthy. And then we're going to throw off a big Sleep Talk and catch this Ferrothorn, hopefully with a Scald Burn, but you're going to see we're going to Moonblast, which is still good damage because of the crit. So 22 is nice, especially because this thing has no leftovers. I'm going to roll a Scald here. Again, realizing he does not have Power Whip, most likely, or I think he would have probably clicked it by now. Trying to bait a burn right there. As this turn, I am going to once again go for a Scald, not getting the burn. Taking minimal damage from the Gyro, and with Rocky Helmet, we actually could have 1v1 this thing if we did get a burn. But yeah, unfortunately, he does reveal the Power Whip here, though. Which shows me that he does have it, and I am curious as to why he hasn't been clicking it earlier, and why he's been, like, very fixated on Gyroing. Especially once the Serena went down. I feel like Power Whip was even more free, but regardless, we're gonna get a little lucky there. He's gonna miss, but this game doesn't really matter at this point. This game's pretty much a wrap. I'm gonna kind of just stay in and spam Scald, hoping to get a burn on this thing, or just, you know, keeping it low in general, as we're gonna get into Torrent right here, knock out the Pharaoh. But this next turn, Prim's gonna come in, and if it is a speed boosting, what do you call it? If it's a speed boosting Nihi, we can't really do too much about it at this point. I believe I go into Greninja right here, and being that this thing is Meteor Beam, because if it wasn't Meteor Beam, maybe we could have gone to Licky afterwards and done something about it, but being this thing can just kind of spam Meteor Beam in our face, this game wasn't going to end well in our favor, so I just forfeit right there. Unfortunately going to drop the first game there in a pretty bad fashion. Now, we did get pretty unlucky, but also in hindsight, looking back in this game, almost 2 months later, I think I played this game really terribly. I really don't think I played very well. I think I played very over-aggressively at first, and got super tilted immediately, and played really, really bad throughout the game. So, pretty tough one. Alrighty, week 6, we go up against Simi or Chris. I don't know which one they exactly go by. I don't know them too well, but they seem nice from the, you know, few interactions I have with them. They have a pretty cool team here in the Scizor, Deoxys Defense, Vaporeon, Regieleki, Rotom, Frost, and the Landorus Incarnate. That is Sheer Force. Now, we have a pretty fun team here. We have a Sub-Toxic Greninja with Dark Pulse and Ice Beam. Does really, really well in this game if we can position it right. We have a Mega Glade that's just SD3 attacks, but we're Drain Punch X's and stuff like CC knockoff. Just because I feel like the longevity was actually really nice and grinding back, you know, Drain Punch recovery and things like that. We have a Regirock here. It doesn't really matter. I don't remember the exact set, but it doesn't really matter what set it is. We have a cool Senate Scorch set. We're actually Coil, Dual Stabs, plus Will-O-Wisp, which does really well. It's a good Scizor check, and it's just a general nuisance and overall. Then we have a sub called Mighty Primarina, a lot like the one we brought against Jason in week 4 with sub CM Scald and Draining Kiss. And then we have a Choice Scarf Nidoking with just, I think, Stabs plus Flamethrower Ice Beam, which is a good revenge kill in this matchup. It's not Regieleki, and it can maybe catch a Landers off guard, which I think he is going to be. So let's go ahead and jump into this one. I am going to lead off with my Nidoking because I want to lead and put myself in a position where I don't immediately lose to the lead of Landers or Regieleki. Well, Gren could lead against, you know, Landers. It puts me in a tough spot, and Nidoking also leads well against a Scizor. Doesn't lead well against Dio, Vaporeon, or Rotom, but I think, like, they're less likely leads than the momentum grabbers on this team. And I guess the other ones can grab momentum, but I think actually everything on this team grabs momentum, potentially, which is really, really annoying. Let's go ahead and jump into it, though. I'm going to lead off with my Nidoking as I skip ahead, like, 10 turns. We're going to lead off with Nidoking as we see a Rotom lead, and unfortunately I just can't risk this thing being Scarf and chopping a Blizzard in my face. So I'm going to pivot out into Regirock as we see a nice Volt Switch, and this is going to kind of be a big problem in this game, is there's no Landers counterplay on my team. I'm just going to sack off my Regirock here. Maybe he overplays and maybe they overplay and U-turn or something like that. But regardless, I'm going to make the pivot out into my Greninja right here. And I'm going to sub up and Toxic on this incoming Vaporeon, as there isn't much I can do. A Flip Turn won't break my sub. Scald won't break my sub. Which is all great information for me. I believe this next turn, I am just going to Dark Pulse. The Rotom does reveal to be Scarf, so it's going to be something annoying that we do have to play around. But at least we know we can pivot between its stabs. It just matters on which stab it's clicking. But Vaporeon's going to come back out because it really is the only switch into Greninja in this game. So I just get another free sub on it as the, Rotom comes out. I believe I sub this next turn just to see what this thing locks into. If it wants to lock into Volt, he has to go out and, again, take another hit. So that's fine with me. But being that just Thunderbolted, I can Dark Pulse and then pivot out into my Nidoking. Now, on this play, I did go Nidoking. I was very, very much so considering staying with Gren and catching a double and just throwing off a big Dark Pulse, because that would have put me in a really good position. But I feel like it wasn't worth risking at this point in the game because Gren was so good. And thankfully I didn't, because they do just elect to Thunderbolt. That's right here. I am going to make a double back out into my Greninja. Not because I expect a Vaporeon, more so because I really did expect Dio to come in as the main Nidoking response. But being that it didn't, that's fine. Regardless, I get a nice and free sub off once again. Or no, I'm going to Dark Pulse here. Maybe try and catch and flinch while it wishes up. And you see that does absolutely nothing. This is like a Spadef Vaporeon, but that's fine with me. They are going to protect right here, which is interesting. I don't think they needed to, but regardless, I am just going to sub up and throw off another Dark Pulse if I can catch some flinches, be annoying. That's kind of what this Greninja is here to do, as we do so. Regieleki's going to come out this time, and it's obviously going to Volt as well. I believe I still just Dark Pulse, as again, the only switch into this Mon is going to be the Vaporeon. Other than that, they really do not pivot into it very, very well. I'm saying they because I don't know if they're boy, girl. You know what they do. I really don't know. I don't know the person too well. But this next turn, I'm going to go back a little bit. They're going to Volt Switch out with the Regieleki and go into the Rotom Wash, or Rotom Frost. I'm going to Dark Pulse right here, and obviously I can't really stay in. I'm going to make the pivot into Sense Course to cover kind of a mid-ground, whether or not they want to go for a Blizzard or a Volt Switch, as thankfully they miss. And this next turn, I'm going to be able to Fire Lash, and due to the, decent amount of speed that we have in our Sense Scorch, we're going to be able to Leech Slice this next turn and take out this Vaporeon, which is great. Big Nuisance gone. My main sub-target with Greninja gone, but main Nuisance is gone at least. This next turn, the Landers comes in. It's a pretty telegraphed Rock Slide, so I'm going to pivot into my Glade, and I think that they have to respect the possibility of an Ice move right here, so I am going to once again make that double out into Greninja, getting it in as much as humanly possible, and trying to throw off a Toxic off on this thing, or a Substitute, see what it wants to go for. They are going to elect to stay in Nightshade, which is fair. I subbed the first time in order to catch like maybe a Scizor pivot or something like that, but unfortunately this next turn I am going to miss my Toxic and get hit with a Nightshade, which really, really, really does suck, because now I'm going to have to switch out. I'm forced to save this thing, and I got nothing out of that exchange besides losing a bunch of health, which again, really, really does suck for me. Sense Scorch are going to be able to come out here, and I believe they are going to elect to spike up, as I Will-O-Wisp this thing. Maybe I should have just coiled initially, but not the biggest deal in the world, as we're going to coil up this turn. And then I believe coil up one more time. Yeah, as this Dio is going to elect to teleport out right into Regieleki, and in my head, I'm like, I'm in a great spot. I can just Leech Life, and this thing might just be able to win the game on its own right here. That's phenomenally. But I don't remember that Regieleki's one of its 3.5 coverage moves is Ancient Power, and this is a Spexaleki, and it just blows me backwards with this Ancient Power. which really does suck a ton. So this next turn I'm gonna go into my Nidoking and Earth Power. In hindsight, maybe Flamethrower was my best mid ground because it did a lot to this Alecki. I know that it's specs. It kills this, it does a chunk to Landis, which is really risky to miss, and then it covers like a mid ground Scizor on a Sludge Wave or something like that. So I don't think Earth Power is my best play, being that there is 2 whole immunities to it. But regardless, I'm going to be playing to my Primarina. They are going to miss their Blizzard, but I don't think that matters too much, because I do have Scald even if I get Frozen, and obviously it's not doing much damage to me because it's Blizzard. So this next turn, though, I believe, going to set up a Substitute, which is really nice. And I'm going to start kind of calm minding up and, you know, trying to be a general nuisance. This Nightshade, unfortunately, does break my sub, which is tough. And thankfully, this thing isn't a taunt Deoxys, because it kind of would have shut us down in this instance. We've kind of just had to spam Scald. But despite us only being +1 with our leftovers and things like that, we're really chipping this thing down and keeping ourselves pretty healthy with the Draining Kiss. This next turn, I am going to calm mind up, as this +2 Draining Kiss is going to do a ton of damage, as this Deoxys actually elects to teleport out into the Regieleki. And this next turn, I am just going to go hard Nidoking. There's no reason for me to sack off my Prim yet. It's kind of forced into an electric move, like a Thunderbolt or a Volt Switch. So, my Nidoking's going to come in next. I'm just going to Sludge Wave, which, again, puts me in a very solid position, as out comes the Landorus, and it just kind of forces a KO, unfortunately. There's not much I can do about it. I like to sack off my Glade. I don't think it's the most important member left. And I have one more switch in with my Greninja, as I am just going to Ice Beam this Landorus, knock it out from full, which is really nice. Only issue is one of those electrics or the Scizor comes in next. So not the biggest deal. Greninja's kind of bad the rest of this game in general, as it kind of loses to the last 3 members, as the Regieleki is going to elect to Swift. And because it elects to Swift, I'm actually going to go into my Primarina, because of the fact that I know I can live that, and I know I can get off a very free Scald and put myself in the best position possible. So they're going to sack off the Rotom, which is honestly their best play, because now Scizor's going to come in. And this thing comes in, I'm like, oh crap. I'm pretty defensive. But if this thing is Swords Dance, I'm in a bad spot. I obviously need to spam Scald, and if I spam Scald and if I get one burn, I'm in a good spot to win this game. As Swords Dance is going to come out right here from this Scizor. I am going to Scald, do about 39, but not burn. Thankfully, we do just barely chew up that Bullet Punch right there. I don't know if that was a roll. Obviously, we lived on 1. It might have been. Regardless, we do live it, and because we're in Torrent, we're going to do a ton of damage here, but the real thing is we obviously need the burn, because we're not going to kill through Torrent here, and it's going to be at 3%, and we're not going to get the burn, and unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbles, and we're going to lose this game, unfortunately. Nidoking would have been able to clean up. I believe we lived a Spec Swift from there if we didn't outspeed it with our Scarf Nidoking, you know, depending on what it is. But yeah, unfortunately, we're going to lose this game 2-0 as well. Very close one. At least we played a little better in this one. I think there was a couple instances where we didn't make great plays, like us not scouting with Scorch and, you know, things like that. And this is kind of like peak slump Owen, like when I was losing in APA a bunch as well. I guess I'm still kind of losing a bunch in APA as well, but like I was losing in BBL at this time, so we really do just kind of need to nip it in the butt. We've lost 2 straight. We're still 4-2 in the season. Like, we're not in a bad position at all to make playoffs. We just need to win one of these next 2, at the very least, hopefully 2 of the next 2. But regardless, let's jump into the next one. Alrighty, guys, week 7, we have our game here against Lux Sands. Very good player, obviously. And really cool team. I believe it's Moltres Galar, the Megalopony, Raikou, Florges, Deoxys Speed, and the Samurott Lux Staple, along with that Megalop. While the team we're rocking out with an SD 3 attacks Mega Gallade, we're rocking out with a sub 3 attacks Life Orb Nidoking. I believe we're rocking out with a T-Spiking Gren. Let me double check it, sorry. Yeah, we're expert bout with Stabs, Ice Beam, and T-Spikes. I don't believe there was a very good ground of poison on this team, and if it was like a poison that was really bad versus me in my mind. So we brought Gren here. We have a Seismic Toss, Toxic, Wish, Protect, Spadef, Licky, which is incredibly annoying for Lux to break through outside of that Lop. Then we have a Stabs, Toxic, King Shield, Special Age Slash, so Flash Cannon, Shadow Ball. And then we have a Rest Talk, Fizz Def, Rocky Helmet, Primarina. So pretty fun team here. Lots of status that we're trying to spread and, you know, be general annoyances. I believe 3 of our 6, yeah, all have some way of poisoning the opposing team. And then we have a couple really fat mons, like, you know, the Prim and the Licky and, you know, a bunch of fun stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into this one. As we're going to lead off with Primarina, I believe I want to lead well versus the Lop right here, as we are going to see an agility. And something with Gmolt that's really scary about Gmolt is it has a really fat Spadef. And my Prim can actually take it on decently well, but I don't want to Moonblast here. Reason being is, especially if this thing stays in, it screams that it's weakness policy, and that's not something I want to deal with at least at this point. My Licky can take it on if it is you know, like weakness policy and not nasty plot, as I believe a Calm Mind. So no, I'm not Stabs. I'm mono I believe I'm mono Scald on this set. Which is nice, as I believe a taunt is going to come out here as I try and Calm Mind again. Or no, am I mono Moonblast? Sorry, should be more prepared. Yeah, I'm mono Moonblast, which is why I switched out here. Is because, again, this thing can for sure live a +1 Moonblast from Prim if it's EV'd correctly. So, while that thing's really weird, and you think like your Fairy is a +1 Spadef against the Dark type, I didn't want to risk that at this point in the game. And again, I feel very comfortable going to my Licky if he showed Taunt right here. So a Hurricane's gonna come out, it's gonna do about 33. I'm not gonna get confused, I'm not gonna get taunted, which for some reason Lux goes for here. Maybe he just blanked on Licky being oblivious. He didn't have weather in my mind. Maybe he had like a Veilux or something like that, because it sounds like something Lux would draft, but I definitely wasn't. I was oblivious in this matchup for sure, specifically for mons like this. And I'm gonna be able to off a Toxic on this thing, and again, be in a very, very good position, because I can just wish up right here pretty darn freely, as a Fire Wrath is gonna come out, and that shows me that this thing has Stabs as its options. And again, if it was like Nasty Plot on this last slot, then I could have gone into Aegislash and potentially been annoying, you know, and it would have been mono Stab, which I don't think was very good against my team. So that's why I felt pretty comfortable making the plays that I did. Right here, after the Seismic Toss, I believe I throw up a big Wish, as the Lop is going to come out. I'm going to pass to my Prim, because any move this thing wants to go for is going to be chewed up by my Prim, and then I'll obviously get the Wish back and, you know, get healthy, and we're going to, you know, be able to chip this down with a Rocky Helmet, as Last Resort is going to be revealed here, which is a cool tech, because Close Combat plus Last Resort is really annoying versus my team. Only issue is that was a crit right there, and you're going to see that's a little bit unfortunate for the rest of the game, because this thing was my main switch into the Samurott right here, the Scarf Samurott, that you'll see here in a minute. So it's going to make it very tough for me to deal with. I am going to obviously be able to take out this Lop, because he elected to stay in. I didn't Calm Mind, thankfully, but Samurott's going to come in here, and this was my response. I can't really switch into another response and try and get a rest later, so we're going to go down here. I'm going to go into my Licky right here. I believe I do Protect just to see if it was Scarfed. Maybe if it was like Secret Sword in the last slot, or I don't know, something like that. But this Sludge is going to come out. It's going to Calm Mind to my face, and the being that it Calm Mind to my face kind of screams that it's like Heal Bell on it, like Heal Bell Synthesis, something like that, and it's going to try and take advantage of something like a Licky. But regardless, I think because of this, my play is to always go on to Nidoking and always throw up a sub, because if this thing wants to continue to try and break my sub at +2, which it can, it's not going to be able to Aromatherapy, which you're going to see right here, or it's going to get chipped down via Toxic and put in range. So regardless, my play here at this point is to just spam Sludge Wave. You're going to see at +3, this isn't going to kill, but this is a very dangerous game that Lux is playing. Obviously, also only has 8 Synthesis, so I can kind of just continue to spam that, and I force a lot of Synthesis right here, and I'm also kind of playing, like, the crit game. Like, I'm very close to potentially being able to get a crit, as we're going to see another Calm Mind here, and we're going to see, again, we have to see another Synthesis come out right here, so it's already half of them burned immediately, I believe, or it would have been half right there, but we're going to get the crit on the Sludge Wave, and while that does suck, I don't feel too bad. I clicked 6 of them, and it was going to happen eventually if that was the kind of set that was happening. So he would have to dodge like a ridiculous amount of crits, but out comes the Samurott. It's going to Surf, Reveal, and Confirm to be Scarf right here, as I do get off a big Life Orb Sludge Wave, though, doing 89%. And then I'm pivot into Grand right here. And a Surf's going to come out, and you're going to see this does 54, and this confirms this is modest. However, instead of just killing off the Samurott, I do feel pretty comfortable. Even in Torrent, my Licky absolutely munches on anything that this mon wants to go for at this point. So, what I'm going to elect to do is I'm going to elect to get up a T-Spike, because it helps out with like a really fat Deoxys, it helps out with a sub-Calm Minding Raikou, which could be a real big nuisance and threat at this point in the game as well. So getting a guaranteed poison on those Pokemon is really valuable to me. So I am going to go ahead and T-Spike up, as it is Modest Scarf, so it is going to be able to underspeed me and KO me. But this next turn, I'm going to be able to go into Licky, and I do have to kind of dodge some crits and things like that, but we're going to Protect here, because that could be a roll, and again, dodging crits as much as humanly possible. Now, we at least guaranteed live a crit, so we can Wish, and I believe after this Wish, I am just going to go for the Seismic Toss again, risking a crit, but, you know, I felt like overall it was my safest way of, you know, potentially winning this game against something like a Sub-CM Raikou, which could have taken advantage of me otherwise. So, out comes this Raikou, which is, definitely unfortunate. It is going to get poisoned. I'm going to go into my Nidoking. Reason being, if this is like a choice Raikou, or if I want to go for an Aura Sphere, I obviously chew that up, and I'll live that into a Scald. If it goes for a Calm Mind, I die to a Scald, yes, but this thing isn't doing anything anyways. If it can't beat this Raikou, it definitely can't beat Dio and Moltres Galar. So, again, I feel pretty comfortable going into my Nidoking, and if it's not Scald, then that's great. But it is going to reveal Scald. It's going to knock out my Nidoking, which is unfortunate, but I still have my Mega Gallade. And even a +1 Shadow Ball, being this isn't like Life Orb, won't kill me from full, guaranteed. So we're going to go out into that thing, and we just get to click Close Combat. As the Shadow Ball is going to come out here, it's only going to do 69%. We're going to knock out the Raikou, and bring ourselves even closer to winning. Moltres is going to come out here. Now, I'm just going to Close Combat, because while I believe I had Ice Punch, yeah, I had Ice Punch, Close Combat, I believe, does more, and it obviously doesn't risk being popping a policy or anything like that. So I'm just going to Close Combat. Maybe he was just going off my choke, which is honestly fair at this point, because I still have an Aegislash for the other thing. But Close Combat's going to knock out this Moltres, and then Dio's going to come out. I'm just going to stay in and knock off. Not going to let this thing set up for free. And Psyshock's going to come out. It's going to reveal to be Life Orb, and being that it's Life Orb, I know that it's not a Cassive Berry or anything like that. So I just go into Aegislash. I chew up this Dark Pulse. I'm actually not 2-hit KO'd, which is nuts, because that's Life Orb. I'm probably modest, but then we're going to be able to knock out the Dio and take home a nice 2-0 dub here against Lux, which is great. Securing us for playoffs has put us up to 5-2. Now, I'm not going to show you guys week 8 because being that we were clenched, I was pretty busy that week, so I just had J-Bear build me a team for week 8, and then we played a really nice guy in Simpleton. Simpleton's really cool. But he hacks the living shit out of us. It was like a bad game. So I really just don't want to commentate over it. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. You can yell at me in the comments. We lost though. It was a very cheesy game. We got hacked out, and it wasn't his fault or anything like that. He didn't bring anything that was terrible or anything like that. Just got hacked out, and that's how Pokemon is sometimes. And didn't build a team, so I feel like the commentary on it would not be great. So I'm just gonna jump ahead to playoffs, and jump into our round 1 game. So I'll be right back with that. Alrighty guys, round 1, we go up against Hydra, and of course we go up against the Dragapult team. We see a Dragapult, Slowbro, Togekiss, Infernape, Kartana, and Silvally. Really sick team, really terrifying, but I actually think we have a really cool squad this week. First off, we have a Greninja. I think it's a Life Orb 3 attack, or Life Orb 4 attacks mixed with Gunk Shot. I believe it's Dark Pulse, Water Shuriken, Surf, and Gunk Shot. Does really well in this game. It's really hard for my opponent to pivot into. The only check is going to be the Togekiss, and if Togekiss takes a bunch of damage, it's great for the rest of my team. Plus, Togekiss allows pretty free switches into things like Aegislash and Nidoking for me, which is great for me, because there's even less counterplay to those Pokemon, in my opinion. We also have an AV Primarina to soft check things like Dragapult. I don't think it's going to be a physical Dragapult in this game, in the slightest. So, it checks, like Specs, or really just any special variant pretty darn well. Even if it is throwing off big Thunderbolts, and in general, it just does very well in this game, offensively, which is great. We have an SD3 attack Mega Glaive with no Fighting Stab. Word to J-Bear. I'm sure he loves that. So we're actually walled by Kartana, which is interesting, but I think we have the rest of the team that can take it on. We have a Colbert Berry Aegislash with Shadow Ball, Flash Cannon, King Shield, and Shadow Sneak. Does really well offensively and has a really good Kartana pivot and check as well. Can pivot into Togekiss, can pivot into the Slowbro, can revenge a really weakened Dragapult with Shadow Sneak as well. And again, Ghost is really spammable into this team depending on what the Silvally type is. Then we have a Nidoking. It's a Life Orb with Stealth Rock, Stabs, and Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch obviously for the Dragapult, putting us in a really good position. Rocks into Sludge Wave into Sucker Punch should kill most Dragapult variants, which is great for us. And then we have a Salamence, which I'm sure you guys, just like me, forgot was even on the team. But yeah, we have a Salamence, and it is it's coming this week. It's going to be Wish, Protect, Air Slash, and Toxic. We are bringing Fat Wishmans for the first time we bring it all season. Well, we brought on the week 8 game, but again, I didn't build that team. It was barely even a game. But this is the first time I'm personally bringing Salamence of my own volition, which is crazy because I love the Pokemon, just did not have good matchups, like legit all season, which was so sad for me. But you're gonna see it really pipes up in this game. It does really well, so I'm super happy about that. But regardless, I think it's time for us to press the play button. And you're going to see we are going to end up leading off with our Primarina. I want to lead well against a Dragapult or an Infernape, because Infernape is also a very big issue for this team, which is why Mishmens is so important to keep things healthy, as well as check the Infernape plus Kartana. We're going to flip turn 1 into that Nidoking, get our free rocks up. This Silvally can have Defog, but if it's not the biggest deal. If it is, it's not the biggest deal in the world. And Togekiss could as well, but again, not the biggest deal in the world. Thunder Wave's going to come out on my Prim, which is honestly fine, because I'm glad they didn't grab momentum initially, because it would have, just put me in a worse spot overall. As the Togekiss is going to come out in this turn, I am just going to flip turn out pretty darn freely and go out into my Nidoking. Next turn, I believe I just throw off a fat Sludge Wave. And while this is a 2-hit KO, I couldn't tell via this damage if this was like, you know, obviously Spadef or like if it was slower than me due to its bulk. So there's no reason I can, you know, really stay in and risk that and just die to a multi-attack or take a ridiculous amount from it. So I am going to make that Prim pivot as we do see a parting shot right here out into the Kartana, which is honestly fine for me because I still have my Rocky Helmet, Fizdef, Salamence to switch into this thing and sponge up some hits. So we are going to get knocked off. And the reason we're helmet over like boots, because it's not like, you know, rocks are a non-factor. There was a Nidoqueen, which I thought was really bad in this matchup, but Ape can definitely be rocks as well. So one, they're kind of mad rockers in the matchup, but they're not impossible to come. But two, I felt like I was going to get knocked off anyways. Like I felt like Cart was going to force a knockoff on me. So you might as well go an item that's going to, you know, give you a benefit in that turn and chip down this Cart, especially considering his Life Orb. I haven't attacked this thing yet. With just Rocks, Life Orb, and Rocky Helmet, this thing's already down to 68%. Just, you know, one turn of existing, which is great. This next turn, I am going to throw up a Wish with my Ments. Now, the reason I stayed in right here and I air slashed is because I was actually nervous about the Savali double in on my Nidoking because I felt like it was really free to come in right here and just throw off a Sludge Wave. So I believe I air slashed to kind of prevent that. After Rocks, I could kill most Savali variants and, you know, that would definitely be annoying for my opponent. But we are going to see a Mystical Fire come out right here as it does crit and do, you know, a decent chunk. But we're going to get it to full. Also, on top of that, if you use no invest Togekiss, I actually absolutely ate up any Dazzling Gleam because we are so fat in our Ments. So this next turn, I am going to Toxic. I'd love to put this thing on a timer for things like Gren, just to chip it down, or things like Gallade if it is Boots. And you're going to see this is also the Defogger, which is, you know, again, really clutch for me to remove that immediately. But I am going to get in my Nidoking for free. I believe I just throw off a Sludge Wave this time to prevent an aggressive switch into the Savali or a Sack, because it can either force me out and Parting Shot, and then, you know, another Defog can go off or something like that. And I felt like Sludge Wave was almost unguardable at this point. So I am just going to click that here on the Dragapult coming in. And this next turn was interesting, right? Because I thought about switching into Prim. And I felt like that was pretty, you know, safe of a play, right? Because Specs Draco will kill me on my Nidoking. However, no non-Specs move will OHKO me from full right here. I don't kill this thing with Sucker Punch, but if I Sucker it, I put it in range of Rocks and literally any other hit on my team, and I don't have great long-term pull answers, especially because I'm a paralyzed Prim with no recovery. And my Ments can't always Wish Pass out into it, depending on, you know, the situation I'm in. So I actually felt pretty comfortable in actually getting off a big Sucker Punch, especially because this thing was especially here to really punish Togekiss. And now that Togekiss is down and poisoned and things like that, I'm not as scared of it. So I actually felt like this calculated risk was worth taking. We are going to Sucker Punch. This thing's going to be at 6%, but we are going to see a U-turn come out here, which is great for us, putting us in a phenomenal position. I'm not going to stay in on this Kartana because I don't want to give it a Beast Boost, so Hydra's going to make a great double here out into Pulp. Getting it in, you know, pretty early. If I get my Rocks, this thing's dead, as long as I prevent a Defog. But next turn, I am going to pivot down to Prim, just in case it is physical or DD. There's no reason for me to protect, anything like that. He does drop a Draco, which is fine. I am going to flip turn on this Silvally Water and then get into my Gren and just off a very free Dark Pulse as it kills this thing, and this into Gunk Shot will knock out the Togekiss. So we knock it out. He's going to go into the Infernape, and I'm going to go to my Ments as a pivot, and it's going to show Stealth Rock. So either it's Choice Scarf, Stealth Rock, or that was a very aggressive play from Hydra, hard bluffing that, or like buffing like Banded, Iron Fist, Mach Punch, or something like that. But the next turn, I am just going to Air Slash right here as the Slowbro comes in, and they're going to make a Kartana double right here as I get into my Greninja. Now, this play was a bit stupid. I will not lie to you. This play right here was a bit stupid. In my head, I was like, not right here. This play right here. Because I'm in with my Greninja. They go into their Kartana. In my head, I'm like, I need to scout for Scarf, make sure. This thing definitely dies to a Life of Dark Pulse. Guaranteed. 100% dies, but in my head, I'm like, what if he Scarf? He'd already shown me Life Orb, so this was honestly just kind of a short circuit of my brain moment. I don't know. Very dumb play. I can't really justify it, but it doesn't end up biting me in the ass too hard. As right here, I'm going to pivot on Immense, because I'm like, can't let my Greninja die. It does really good this game. As the Togekiss is going to come out here, which is definitely annoying, but I believe I am just going to Wish Up. So good aggressive play here by Hydra, getting into the Pult and trying to drop a Draco on me before it gets chipped. But Prim is just going to receive a Wish right there. We would have chewed up a Shadow Ball there and received a Wish anyways. And I'm just going to throw off an unresisted Moonblast. The only resist is going to be that Life Orb Kartana, which doesn't really count. And I'm just gonna spam Moonblast in case this thing isn't slack off. We're gonna get paired there. This next turn, I am going to flip turn out, but the Slowbro reveals to actually teleport as well, which is annoying, but not the biggest deal in the world. Tokus is gonna come out on my Greninja, take a little bit of Toxic. I'm going to free switch into my Nidoking. Take 41 from this Air Slash, but again, just claim one with Sludge Wave, essentially. I believe, or no, we get up our Rocks. That was an interesting play. I think the main reason I did it was maybe because I didn't want Pult coming in anymore, and if, yeah, okay, so the reason I remember, the reason I ended up Roxing up here, because one, I didn't want Pult to come in for free, and two, Rocks are honestly annoying me. I don't have defog, so if Rocks are going to be up on my side, I want them up on my opponent's side, so if he values not having his Pult just die, or his Infernape chipped and switched in and, you know, put in range of Shuriken and things like that, he's going to have to defog himself. So that's the reason we Rocks up there, even though Sludge Wave would have killed something. And this next turn, Infernape's going to come out right here. It's going to U-turn on my Fizdef Ments coming in. I'm going to protect here, kind of scout and see if this thing has an Ice Beam, because it's shown Slack Off, Teleport, and that's really it. It probably has a Water move, or like Foul Play or Psyshock or something like that. Something to, you know, touch Gallade. And then I want to shout and see if it had Ice Beam, but we're going to see a Thunder Wave pop off right here. And this really makes me think it doesn't have Ice Beam. So I'm just going to Wish Up right here and throw off a Toxic on this Slowbro. And the more we can chip this thing down, obviously the better for us, as we're going to see a Teleport here out into the Togekiss and a Defog, which is again really great for us, as I throw up a big Wish with Ments, and this thing's just keeping the whole squad healthy, as Aegislash is going to come out next. This Togekiss is going to Roost, but we got that free switch into Aegislash that we really wanted, and a Mystical Fire is going to come out right here. And the reason Mystical Fire was so unfortunate in this game, it was really good prep, is because we were obviously special Aegislash. It let him pivot around Nidoking a little bit better if it caught us on the switch and things like that. So Mystical Fire was great because it made it to where we couldn't as easily punch through this team. But this next turn, I believe I am just going to double out into my Nidoking on a potential Roost or something like that. And try and get at my Rocks if he wanted to stay in and Roost to sack this off. I could have picked it off with Shadow Sneak, but again, didn't see a real need to. As right here, Infernape's going to come out, but I have still a full health Primarina as an Earthquake pops, and then U-turn this next turn, which shows me again, it's not Scarf, which is great for us to know. I believe I flip turn right here, knock out the 10% Togekiss, and then go out into my Greninja as it exerts a ton of pressure. Slowbro's going to come out right here. I know this thing's going to be colder, but I'm fine with taking this trade and Dark Pulsing. While Gren is still great, I can still Water Shuriken through all the rest of this team, and I don't need it to win, in my personal opinion. So I'm going to Dark Pulse, and again, I could always get a Flinch. Unfortunately, we don't. We're going to see a Thunder Wave come out. That's going to, what do you call it, Paras, and then I'm just going to throw off another big Dark Pulse right here. Do a ton of damage, and throw off a big Water Shuriken. Now, if we get 3 hits, we do actually end up killing this thing. Unfortunately, we don't, and Rocks do end up going up. And then this next turn, am I going to get full paired? No, I'm going to Water Shuriken here, and I think I actually do get more than 3 hits this time, which is unfortunate. So we get 3 here. If we get a 4 hit, we would have knocked out this Kartana. Unfortunately, we don't, but this thing's going to put itself in range. I guess 3 hit plus Life Orb would have put it in range, but regardless, I still have Immense that can come in and intim this thing, and I can kind of just throw off an Air Slash, I believe. Yeah, we just throw off an Air Slash, we knock out the Infernape. Out comes Dragapult. I believe we just go hard out into Prim. If he wants to Shadow Ball, that's fine. If he just Dracos, it's fine as well. And then I'm just going to flip turn on our Moonblast right here, because it just claim a 2-8 KO. And we're going to be put in a pretty good spot here to win this game, as the Kartana is going to come out. And the reason I switch this out and save this is because I go into Immense, because one, I know this isn't Scarf. I can always go into my Glade and Revenge it. Even though I don't have coverage for it, it has to attack 2 more times and take Life Orb. Or Synthop if that's one of its moves, and even then I can just Air Slash it, which is great. So it has to attack twice in order to knock me out. And 2, I don't want it to get a Beast Boost if I don't need to. And 3, I want to keep that Dragon immunity in the back of my Primarina for that Dragapult, so I can't lock Draco versus the rest of my team, which again, I think is really important as well. Or at least, actually, it doesn't really matter too much, because we're going to see a Shadow Ball come out here, and I guess Shadow Ball is the most spammable move versus me. But again, doesn't matter, because I can just go into Glade, and I can just Shadow Sneak and win the game. And walk out with a 4-0 win against Hydra in a very convincing fashion. So I was happy with the way I played this game. I was happy with Immense. I was glad to see it put in work, and it's a real season debut, at least in my eyes. And we're able to move on to semifinals. So let's go ahead and jump and do that. Alright, we started this video with Zayn, and we're going to end this video with Zayn here. We have a chance for redemption after he smashed us in our last, week 5 game. We're playing up against him this time. I believe he has pretty much an exactly similar team, except he has an Arcanine this time over something else. I don't remember exactly what, but we're rocking out with a pretty similar team. Same exact Gallade, I believe. Same Prim, same Serena, same Nidoking. I believe we're a different Gren. We are not like a sub workup. We're a Life Orb Taunt Gren with spikes and dual saps, which doesn't do great other than... It was just great outside of the Ferrothorn, but it's a great spike Gren. It forces those specific switch-ins and gets me up spikes, which I think is really important in wearing down this team. And then we have another Wish Ments, I believe. Let me check again. I know we're Wish... Well, yeah, we're Hurricane, Flamethrower, Wish, and Toxic, which does pretty good in this game. And, you know, just being an annoying general pivot, throwing around Toxic, and being a nuisance, and keeping the rest of our members healthy, like our AV, our double AV core, and Serena, plus Nidoking. So, with that being said, let's jump into this one. I am going to lead off with Greninja, because outside of Pharaoh, which I actually feel like I have a better pivot into now in my Ments, I feel like it leads well versus a lot of things. It leads well versus a Gliscor, which was the lead last time. It leads well versus Arcanine. It leads well versus Suicune even, because I can taunt it and just spike up for days. And there is no removal on this team outside of the Gliscor, which I can obviously stop from removing either with taunt or forcing it out with a Surf. So I think that's really important. We're going to see an Arcanine lead, and I feel pretty comfortable in just getting up a spike right here. Because in my head, I'm like, there's no way he stays in. He has a Ferrothorn. I don't think it's in his best interest to stay in, obviously. And loses Arcanine, potentially. I just don't think that's a great risk versus reward scenario to look at turn 1. But I was wrong. Zayn does stay in. I get up my spike, and he is going to play rough and do 94%, showing us that he's offensive. Thankfully, he isn't Wild Charge. This next turn, he is going to pivot out into the Ferrothorn, but I'm going to call that he's not going to want to stay in. I'm just going to give a spike. Now, if he's E-Speed, he's E-Speed, whatever. I get a free switch into something like, you know, Prim or something like that, and go from there. And I also honestly thought he might make that double, expecting the Prim. So, made a little bit of an aggressive double spike play there, as we're going to, you know, be able to catch that Pharaoh coming in. It's going to take a spike, not show leftovers, and kind of making me think that it might be Chople once again. And this next turn, I'm actually going to taunt, expecting him to maybe want to get up some rocks, or getting up a spike in case they switch out and try and preserve this thing. But we're going to taunt, and regardless, this puts us in a good position going forward, because we get a free switch in. But thankfully, even better, it ends up going for that Leech Seed, which is great, because now I can just throw off a Life Orb Dark Pulse, go down in the process, but leave this Pharaoh at 51% with no recovery, and yeah, in a bad spot. So this next turn, I am going to go into my Nidoking right here, and this puts him in a pretty interesting spot again, because if he lets this thing go down, I think he like gets auto 6-0'd by Prim like immediately. He's not in a good position versus the Mon, so I don't think he necessarily wants to let this thing go down right now, or from like DD Ments or something like that. It's, you know, a good stopgap to that thing. So I'm going to go Nidoking, and I don't think he's just going to immediately sack this off. And while he can make the Suicune pivot, it has to take 2 spikes plus the move I want to click right here, and then I can pivot into, you know, Serena, and go into Ment and Toxic it and things like that. So I actually feel pretty comfortable going for an Ice Beam, trying to catch a very aggressive Gliscor right here, because Nidoking, what do you call it? Suicune will also take a ton from Earth Power. It'll get 2-hit KO'd. Or like get 2-hit KO'd by like a Sludge Wave potentially if I'm like Life Orb. So I figured Gliscor might be the play. So I am just going to go raw for an Ice Beam right here, and the Gliscor coming in. We are going to catch that thing, and I'm going to knock it out. So Gliscor knocked us out the first game. We knock it out the second time we play. And Weavile is going to come out, and I have a very free Prim. I'm at full still. I can chew up a knockoff, get a little bit of Rocky Helmet Chip. We're going to see its boot, so I'm not super scared. So next turn, it's going to Poison Jab, and I just Moonblast because the Pharaoh's so low, so I'm not super worried about it. And again, it doesn't have recovery outside of Leech Seed. So we're going to see a Poison Jab, though, which I didn't expect to come out, honestly. I felt like Weavile was also very good at me over the course of the game, but thankfully we do stay in and just attack what's in front of us. Moonblast is going to knock out this Weavile, and then Nihilego is going to come out, but this time, the big difference to last game is we have our AV Nidoking. You're going to see the Sludge Wave do absolutely nothing on a crit. We chew up a Psychic if that's what they want to go for, and there's no Earth Power resist anymore, so we can just click that. 2-hit KO the Ferrothorn, I believe it's going to protect, kind of delaying the inevitable, but not the biggest deal in the world, as we're just going to Earth Power 2 times, knock it out, and then I believe the Suicune is going to come in, and I go hard into my Ments in order to get off a big Toxic on this thing, and deal with it that way, because I can go to Serena and kind of spam moves after that if it is like a rest variant. But we're going to see the Arcanine come out. I am going to Toxic this thing. It's going to intimidate me and then drop a big offensive player off. And honestly, at this point, I feel like I'm okay sacking off my Ments. I don't necessarily need it for anything. It loses to Nihi, it loses to this thing. I could Hurricane, try and knock us out, but I also see this as my opportunity to set up a Swords Dance with Glade. Now, that sounds a little bit interesting, but obviously I live a player if I live a Flare Blitz, and if the Wisp, oh well, it's Wisp, I got up a Swords Dance, and I basically mitigated that drop, maybe a little bit less damage, but, you know, not the biggest deal in the world, as we are going to go down here, but with a Wish in the air, I can throw off a very free Swords Dance, and as long as I don't get crit or burned on a Flare Blitz, I'm in a good spot. We see a Flare Blitz come out, 64%, but I'm going to get all of that back, and after poison damage, I can actually go for a Poison Jab. The reason I go for a Poison Jab, even though there's no Hatterene this time, is because if that Nihilego was Scarf, I didn't want to lower my defenses and put myself in range of it because of that. So now this weekend's going to come in, but this time I am going to close combat because it tells me, one, he's probably not Scarf Nihi, and if it is last month's Scarf Nihi, he won't beat me because I have a Nido King. So next turn I'm just going to close combat. We get a nice 4-0 sweep here against Zayn, and we're moving on to finals. Now, I'm not going to cover finals in this video, 1, because they have not been played, and 2, I want to kind of make them their own video. I'd love to have another championship as a standalone video on the channel, so if you guys are excited for that, be sure to like and sub. It'll be up sometime next week after I play it, and, you know, get the chances down and record a post-com and all that good stuff. So, yeah, hopefully winning a Showdown championship on the channel a week or 2 after we win our BBL championship on the channel. I would love for that to happen, but, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this long-ass video, be sure to drop a like and a comment, and I will see you guys